Okay, here we are on the first ever Edgewood podcast, and I'm excited about it because we already and got heated up a little bit. Um, and I'm here with Julia
Julie Jackson.
Jackson. I like that. Julia Jackson, who I reached out to via LinkedIn,
Hmm.
and she responded regarding my request to have her on this podcast to talk more about her profession as a SLP. Now, how she got here and how you got here, let me give you a little insight about that. I bumped into a friend of mine years ago. It was quite a while. She was a girl who stuttered. She invited me to the a monthly meeting at the for the NSA, people who
Hmm.
stutter. I went and I said, man, I don't think I've seen a film about somebody who stutters. It let me do some research. So I started to write something, wrote something, filmed something, crossed a lot of hurdles, then had to take a break, had to go back to filming, kind of got wrapped this year, 2024. And I've heard and been to a few events where some SLPs was there,
Hmm.
and I didn't know many of them or what got them into wanting to become an SLP, and not knowing a lot about what they do. Do they only work with people who stutter? What do they do outside of that? Because that's all I've known them for. So, outside of finishing the film about stuttering, the movie stars a person who stutters,
Sure.
I said, let me get some more insight from SLPs because they work closely with the people that I'm targeting for my film, which is about stuttering.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my whole spiel. So starting off, and we can get into the story and
Sure.
and how I got involved in the plot of that shortly. But what got you into pursuing becoming an SLP?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was an art major in college before I ever got into speech pathology.
Okay.
Um, I was living at home, and I was in art classes at a junior college. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and my dad was on my local school board at the time. I'm from West Texas. I'm from Midland, Odessa,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad said, so what are you going to do with this art degree? And I was like, I'm going to be an artist.
Right.
And he said, no, really, how are you going to put a roof over your head and food on your table? And I was like, oh, okay.
Ah,
So he said, what do you think about, he said, why don't you look into speech pathology? He's like, you will always have a job. And I was like, all right. So I looked into it, and
and this was college.
yes,
Okay, not high school,
this
but
was in the early 90s. So that just aged myself a whole lot there. But
okay.
um, he said, you'll always have a job. Um, Speech language pathologists were highly sought after, never, always had job openings, and there was always a need that was to be filled, whether it be working in hospitals, schools, nursing homes, early childhood intervention. Speech pathology really encompasses more than just stuttering. We have 9 different areas of specialty, and I mean, you can't know all the things about everything, but we help stroke patients. We help. Um, we work with swallowing with patients that are unable to eat. That babies that are unable to feed. We work with cleft palate. We work. It's a very broad spectrum, and I wore my shirt today because you know what what do speech pathologists do anyway? And on the back of my shirt, it shows everything.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
not
gonna have to
everything, but
get some
a lot of
photos of
that.
that, cause you just breaking that down. I mean, I met a person who stutters,
Hmm.
who led me to hearing more about SLPs. So just from my education, I'm thinking they just work with people who stutter. That's what SLPs do,
Hmm.
which
That was one little brief, one little
which is
area.
a very very small area
Hmm.
outside of the bigger palette that y'all
Hmm.
have.
And I would say that it's one of the hardest areas that we work with, really, because and a lot of our approach has shifted in the last few years because stuttering is a neurological, I hate to say disorder, but a neurological disability, and it's kind of hard to fix the brain when one of my students described it to me as it's like glitching in real time.
I could see that.
And so I think, like I said, that we're in a helping profession, and the focus has been to fix it, and the people are not broken. It's
Just how they
something.
are.
It's just how their brain does, right? And so we we come from that mode of fix it, and a lot of things that speech pathologists have done to try to help in the past are more of a hurt and more of a roadblock, really, for people with stuttering. Um, I think a lot of speech pathologists are at a loss and don't really know what to do or how to help a person with stuttering. Um, my approach and my knowledge base has really changed over the years as far as what is best practice and what is best for people with stuttering. Um, we really look at it more now from an allyship type approach, where it's more on us to be patient listeners versus them trying to communicate. We want to focus on what they're saying and not how they're saying it.
I agree. I mentioned that to the girl that I met in a small interview that I did. I knew that she stuttered, and it wasn't a severe stutter, but I could tell that she stuttered. But I didn't. It didn't matter to me. I was just focusing on what she was saying. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. The stutter didn't bother me at all. Um, but are well, I'm thinking. Of course, stuttering can start at a very young age.
Absolutely.
So I'm assuming most of those children that may have a stutter are brought or introduced to a SLP as a child by their parent first. I'm
Sure.
assuming parents are saying, "Hey, my son or daughter speech is a little off," and it
Mm-hmm.
starts there, not once they're adults.
Sure. Um, yeah, usually, I mean, it can start at any age. I had a student that he was completely fine, and then he had started having focal seizures. Again, neurological disability or neurological challenge, and he started to stutter when he was 11.
Oof.
So that right there should tell you that the high level of neurological function that it encompasses, and that it's not like you can jump in your brain and change something.
Of course.
You can't, like, heal that part, or do that to try to help that part of the brain. I mean, there are things that you can do, fluency enhancing strategies and things like that you can use in the moment when you're speaking, but you know by and large, it's up to us to be patient listeners, and a lot of the things that speech pathologists in the past, have said, you know, it's not helpful to stop them and put words in their mouth or help them finish their words and
I've
sentences. It's up to us to be patient and listen intently and let them finish and let them have their voice and use their words and do what, but we have to be patient listeners. It's on us, it's not on them. It's just one more thing that they have to contend with.
Are the parents who are, let's say, bringing their child into an SLP because they have developed a stutter, are the parents, for the uneducated parents out there that's learning, just like myself, are they bringing their child in there to get fixed? Like, hey, get rid of this stutter? Is that how they're looking at it?
Well, a lot of times, you will have a child in there that stutters, and the parents are like, well, it's not getting better. Well, it's not. They still stutter, and I'm like, it's just gonna happen. They want you to fix it, but there's like no fixing them. It's not broken. It's just it's what they are. It's how they communicate, right? One thing that I've told parents is it's what they do. It's not who they are.
I agree.
And so sometimes it takes that element of education for parents to kind of understand what stuttering is and how they can best help and how they can support their child through this process. And it takes being involved, and it takes being kind and understanding and patient. And a lot of times I'll tell parents, whenever you have a young family or there are a lot of kids in the house, it kind of gets into a fever pitch, and it's just like the anxiety level just gets up here.
Yeah.
And I tell them that you have to kind of put those pauses in your clauses and kind of bring down the tone and the level of the energy within your household, because when it's up here, it's just too much. But when it's back down here, it's a little easier. And then it's easier to get your words out, and it's easier to communicate, and it's easier to, you feel more comfortable and confident whenever it's low key and it's chill versus the fever pitch. So that can be a challenge,
Sounds like it could be one.
But and then I tell them, you have to have that uninterrupted time with your child where things are low key, and have that one-on-one time and develop that relationship and talk about stuttering. It's not something to be avoided and to, not discuss, because, you have to bring it to the forefront and help your child feel comfortable with that element, with that part of themselves.
Do you think, as from X amount of years ago, when you first became an SLP, till now, I'm sure a little bit has changed since then, like social media and the attention of people just wanting to go so quick, so fast. If you're not getting to it in 2.4 seconds, it's just, okay, I'm bored. I'm moving on. I'm moving on, man. Could parents, coworkers, friends not develop the amount of patience it may take to have that friend that stutters? I don't have a close friend like that stutters, but working on my project, I've met many people who, and I'm more interested in people, so I don't mind being patient. Sure. And take as much time as you need, because I focus on the quality of what people are saying. Mm-hmm. We all, and including myself, have friends that say a lot but not saying nothing at all. And we just let them go and sure. go and go. So I wonder if people have the patience it take to go back and forth with a person who stutter when most of that conversation may be listening. Do we have enough patience to have a daughter, relative, or anybody that stutters like that?
You know, overwhelmingly, I hear, because I work with high school kids now. So I've kind of gone full circle. I work with the little bitties, and then I've been in elementary and middle school, and now I'm in high school. And overwhelmingly, a lot of the students that I work with say, I ask them, I say, so do your friends ever say anything? You know, do they? And they're like, no, they don't make mention of it. They don't say anything to me. They're kind and patient and understanding, and they just let me get it out. And so you're going to run into those people. It's just going to happen. So the main thing is for you to be your own self-advocate and to say, hey, you know, this is something that I struggle with, and I stutter, and I'm a person with stuttering. You want to use that people first language, but I'm a person with stuttering, and it's really helpful and beneficial if you're patient and don't stop me and let me get my words out. And overwhelmingly, the people that I've talked to, their friends and coworkers and family and everybody are pretty patient. And, you know, they are very understanding, and they know the strategies to help that person and to not put that stress, that extra amount of stress on somebody.
Is the field or that um, career path, SLPs, is it still as needed as it was when your dad told you you needed to go?
Man, probably more so. Um, just through the years, I mean, yeah, I'm on Facebook groups and things like that, and the outcries from speech pathologists because they're so burnt out, overburdened, overrun, you know, heavy caseloads, just kind of like what we discussed before we started here, is you just get to that point to where you are just on fire. You know, you're on fire, everything's on fire, and you're just burning. And there's just that push to do more, 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 more. And, you know, companies and school districts and things like that, they want to get the most that they can from you and for their money, of course, and I get that. However, I think it comes at the expense of services, and it comes at the expense of our students. That you're talking about people that need the most help to be able to communicate and to be able to have that, to function in society and things like that. And but we don't have the time to devote to providing those services. We're caught up in that the red tape and the paperwork line of,
Oh yeah, yes.
you know, everything. But yes, speech pathologists are very critical and very needed, and he's right. I'll always have a job. I get text messages probably daily. You know, LinkedIn messages and things like that of, hey, do you want a PRN? Hey, do you want to fill in? But I will say that speech pathologists, you know, they have their areas, and if you're not comfortable with something or an area that you're working in, because our field encompasses 9 different areas. We work with cognitive function, we work with language, we work with articulation, we work with swallowing. You know, we work with, I mean, it's just a lot. So if it's not your area of expertise, or you're not as comfortable in that area, say with stuttering, I know a lot of speech pathologists that aren't comfortable providing therapy for people with stuttering because it's just a lot. And we've come from where we were counting all of those moments of stuttering within a sample, you know, where we're like tick marking, you know, all of your moments of stuttering within your conversational sample. And we've come from that.
the you're exiting high school.
Hmm.
What type of person would you say someone would be if they think they would be a good fit for becoming an SLP? Myself, I went to college, didn't hear much about SLPs at all,
Hmm.
or speech language pathologists at all. Um, but I did spend some time in the communications department, but I didn't run across no SLPs, future SLPs.
And a lot of times those get confused as far as, oh, you're a speech teacher.
Oh,
I'm a little
okay.
different.
Yeah, a little bit. Um, what type of person fits well as an SLP? You would say these type of people will make great SLPs.
That's hard to say. I mean,
Or y'all, it's all of y'all. Y'all come from all backgrounds, all areas.
all backgrounds. And I mean, I never envisioned this for myself when I
Until your
started out.
dad dropped the
Until my
bomb.
dad said, hey, look into this field. You'll always have a job. I'm like, okay, great. So, 30 years later, here I am. But somebody that has a drive and but compassion and intuitive, you know, I love kids. That is just my jam. I just love kids. And you really have to find somebody, and I never thought that I would be that person because you're young, you're selfish, you're all the things, but
Of course.
it evolves over time, and then it kind of sets a fire in you and makes you want to get more involved and to help people. You kind of have to draw that distinction of over helping so that you don't get burned out and you don't get into the rut, so to speak. But I mean, somebody that has a heart, that just really has a heart for it, is somebody that's going to be good. But I think a lot of times we get into the grind and it just grinds us right out.
Oh yeah. The workload can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the drive and the passion that one can have will get you through the workload when it gets overwhelming sometimes. Because it can be, and that's in almost a lot of careers, but when that workloads get heavy, that passion drive will get you through those type of days.
Most
No
definitely.
different from the it's no different when it comes to film, now that I think about it. Um, Segueing into that,
Mm-hmm.
I met the person who stutters,
Mm-hmm.
went to the NSA meeting, and I said, let me write a story about a person who stutters. So I did that because I have, and maybe you have, maybe you can educate me. I haven't watched a film that stars a person who stutters. I've seen people who stutter in film.
Mm-hmm. But they play the person that stutters, but they don't stutter themselves.
Correct.
Right.
And they're never the main character. That I haven't seen. So I said I would like to make one of those films. And those people who may not be as patient, they don't have to watch it if they're not interested in it because they don't stutter, or they may say, I don't want to listen to a person who stutters, or whatever
They just
reason.
don't have the time.
Or the time when they can watch 2 hours or 3 hours or 10 hours of some trash series that they may love. But I did the casting, shot it, and got with a team of mine and crossed many hurdles just in production of my own merit of getting there. But we got there. We got it shot and editing some stuff. So it was interesting because it was some scenes in there that I looked at differently once I got them shot. For an example, give a little bit, no spoilers yet, but it's a scene where a character is saying something about a person who stutters. And in film, all the time, actors sometimes just add, throw in a little bit of, this or that. And the character did that. And I just let the take go. But after watching it, it was a struggle for me because I looked at it from a person who stutters point of view. And I said, that will be tough. Because I figured that I didn't want it to be it's not a documentary. There are many documentaries out there about people who stutter, but this is not a documentary. And people said those scenes come with the story because they, if not all, majority of them has experienced what that character was relaying to another character. Even though in real life, people who stutter have probably had to experience that, I said, I don't want them to experience it in the film because they experienced it in real life. Let me try to give them something a little different. And it's in the film. I have to leave it in there because of the way that it was shot. But it was a struggle, and I learned a lot from shooting it, editing it. I'm looking, even though people may not consider me a person who stutters, I'm looking at it through their lens and hope that this is something that I can get them to want to be more involved with in time. Because in the film,
He's gonna spoil it.
It's one person who stutters, but I would have liked more. I would have liked more.
Sure.
And with the subject of the film being stuttering, I'm hoping down the line or after we show this first one, more people who stutter that may be interested in art, we can use them in future stories.
Well, I know, when you see one person with stuttering, you've seen one person with stuttering. Every person that stutters, theirs is different. So you'll have those secondary characteristics, where if they have a hard time with a word or a sound, they will talk around it and they will, substitute words to get around those words or those sounds. And so I'm sure, that may be part of what you experienced when you were shooting the film, that they struggle and they have a hard time with that particular sound or word or, whatever. And so they're like, I'm going to go back around and kind of, talk in a circle and so that I don't have to say that sound or that word or whatever. And so it's a coping strategy a lot of times for someone who stutters,
Yeah, I learned when writing it, I'm speaking for a person who stutters, which was tough.
Sure.
Because when we have the showing, I'm inviting, the world out, people who stutter and everybody that can relate. So they can hopefully be entertained, enjoy the story, connect with the message that I'm trying to put out there. And what I would also like is for them to get more involved so their voices could be louder than what they are.
Sure.
We every group of people have their lane regarding storytelling, which you may like, or characters. People may say, "Oh, I can see myself doing that. That's totally me." Or my mom is just like that. That character is just like my mom because I can see it. Blah 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 blah.
Sure.
I don't. When it comes to stuttering, that specific thing, I don't think that's pointed out enough in story where it what forces us as a creative to tell different types of stories if one of the characters did have a stutter.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, they had a stutter, but it's not looked at as comedically relief. You know, they're
Mm-hmm.
joking about them all the time because that's how it's used in 99% of films.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about so many other stories outside of the one that I'm finishing that people who stutter can use, and I rather use an actual person who stutters because it's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's better.
Well, they've lived it. They have that experience,
They
and
do have.
they
They have.
understand what goes into, you know, they're kind of having to have two experiences. One as a, say, an actor, actress, and as a person who stutters, because it, you know, they kind of have a dual burden or difficulty, you know, because they're having to be in character or whatever, but they're
Mm-hmm.
also having to say their lines and
This is true.
practice and rehearse and all of those things. And so it's kind of, you know, it's a different mindset, I'm sure, for an actor or actress trying to
Have to be
do that.
with
And you probably have to have a lot of outtakes.
probably so, probably so. With the the acting side, when it comes to people who stutter, just people in general, I think some of them are artists. I doubt if every person that stutters or have some form of a stutter is not interested in some type of video, YouTubing. Now, I've seen a few people on YouTube who stutter,
Mm-hmm.
and I see it how some people talk about it. It's an outlet just for them to speak more, talk more, just get used to
Mm-hmm.
doing it. Our world is a lot on camera, cell phones, and stuff
Sure.
like that. But my story, I think, and I'm hoping, is one of 1,000 of stories regarding the feedback that I've got from people who actually stutter. One example would be the girl that I met that inspired me to write this story. She mentioned that around certain guys, she know what words to stay away from.
Mm-hmm. Coping strategy.
And that just kind of, blew my mind. I didn't think, or I guess because I'm not considered a person who stutter, that much thought would go into it when just talking to somebody. Just say what you have to say.
It's not as easy as it comes across.
Obviously not. And that, I slightly added that inside the script a little bit because of what she told me regarding when she's out and about and, she may be engaging with guys, that she know those words that just won't come out like she need them to, so she'll move around them. And hearing and getting more stories like that can help, I guess, me as an artist to put more of those stories out there from actual people that has a stutter.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I think, like I said, our approach as speech pathologists we've kind of changed, where the onus is on us as listeners, not the speaker, and for us to kind of understand their experience and what they go through and what a challenge it can be to stutter, and to not making those marks and those tick marks of, oh, that's where you stuttered,
yeah.
just you're looking at the content of what they're saying, and just we've moved more toward a social emotional level of therapy, with our clients and our students versus versus trying to fix it. And so, and that I mean, I think that has been freeing for speech pathologists in our field, just because I think there was always just that such pressure to fix it, or to, and that's what parents, they want you to do and stuff, but it really kind of brought a human element to our field, I feel. And, there's several speech pathologists that are board certified in stuttering. And I've really kind of latched on to how they approach, what their approach is. And I feel like it addresses the core person, the core of the person versus, this extraneous stuff of how you communicate. And so I've been encouraged, I guess, really by our movement as far as how we're, changing and accepting of people with stuttering. And, you want a kid that's confident. You want, a person that is confident when they're speaking and that they feel comfortable in their own skin.
I agree.
And so that's what's most important to me, is that we facilitate those people to be able to confidently stutter.
I agree. I would say we just need to apply more time to that. Just a lot more. The more, because I'm thinking about even something that's like a family having dinner. You may say, how we hear often, how was your day? It's the spiel is not as quick as everybody else's if one of your kids may stutter a lot more. And don't even let it be something exciting that kid want to get off, and you feel like you're not wanting to be patient enough to let him get that joy out. Because I have nieces, they're teens, but man, they can go. They can really talk, and but no stutter, and it flows. So I don't think that's no different from a 15, 16-year-old girl who may have a stutter. She want to tell you about everything just as much, but I'm developing that patience it takes to not make her feel that her words aren't as important.
Exactly.
Is important.
That's exactly right. I mean, you want to be that involved listener and that checked in listener, whenever they're saying what they want to say, or they're telling you a story. And sometimes it can be painful. In our society, we're pretty impatient. You were talking about
I agree.
the fast, 2.4 seconds, and if you don't get your words out efficiently, I'm going to check out and I'm not going to listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
Just that it's just kind of an ugly feeling,
It is. It is.
It's a shame. It's a shame that we make people feel that way. And I think that I have grown to have kind of a compassionate heart for people with stuttering, just being in the field. Like I said, a lot of speech pathologists feel uncomfortable treating or, helping or any of that kind of thing. But I've really grown to just have a heart for people with stuttering. And I encourage my kids, my students that are stutterers, that they get involved in like a community or online community or in a group or something, so that they have a place where they feel comfortable, where
I agree.
Everybody has
I agree.
Some form of stuttering or whatever, but they get it. That group gets it and understands where you are in your spot, in your station.
Yeah, those communities are key. I think they are very important. Once you find them, get involved, participate, like events, networking things with people. Online is great because you can connect with so many people, but connecting, when I look at like go out there, meet those people.
Community.
When you have a community. Speaking of community, I'm hoping you would like to become part of ours when we have the showing.
Sure.
Working on date.
Okay.
But when I get that date, I would get it to you, and I would love for you to come check out the film.
I would love to.
It's going to be awesome sauce.
I can't wait.
Just in case. So for those people who may be wondering where they can find you, they may say, hey, I like what she said. I want to ask her a question. Where could they do that at?
Well, you found me on LinkedIn.
I did. She's on LinkedIn.
I was like, is this for real? I had to do all my research. I had to go find all the things. I'm like,
okay.
I don't know. I'm going to drag my husband and my son with me. I need, just being that cautious. But you can reach out on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. This is really my first time to actually speak to somebody else like this on a podcast or with anybody,
Hey, we're glad to have you.
As far as the profession goes. And I was like, I don't know, do I have anything to say about that? Or
yes, you do.
Why would anybody be interested? Or
you definitely, with the years you say you've been in the game. Oh man, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
But they can reach out to you and they can get in touch with me. Feel free to give somebody my cell phone number or, to text or whatever. I'm an open book, really, as far as that goes. And pretty passionate about my field and love my students. And, that's where I really love my job is with the students and the clients. And so, I'm happy to connect with anybody.
Well, we would definitely keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Sure. Appreciate it.
Awesome sauce.
Thank you.
Man.